So we're reviewing WOLFS later, which is Clooney, Pitt. Who would you rather have dinner with? George Clooney or Brad Pitt?
So I think
3-course dinner.
Yeah.
You're going to be there for an hour and a half.
Yeah. So I think Clooney is more pleasant to have dinner with, but Brad Pitt would be more fun.
Now that's very interesting. I agree with that.
I think Clooney would be a lovely evening with Amal. I reckon they're great.
No,
cooks.
I'm talking one-on-one.
Okay, just Clooney. Okay. Yeah, I think Clooney would be nicer and maybe a little bit more, not that I think he's clever, but a little bit more intellectually stimulating and engaging. I reckon I could engage him on the industry. I think he'd be more susceptible to questions. Because let's be honest, I'm asking him questions. He's got nothing to ask me.
No.
He's not trying to podcast. So,
where do you get your jumpers from?
Yeah. Check the link in the description. Whereas I think Brad might be a little bit prickly to interview, but who knows where we're going for a drink afterwards.
I mean, yeah, I think he would be a bit more aloof, Brad. He's warm enough for you to have dinner with him. Yeah. So he's going to give you his time.
I reckon he'd order for me.
I think, but he would probably lean back, kick the leg out, and go, yeah, he'll have...
Yeah.
That's slightly southern, but you know what I mean.
He'll go straight to the biggest thing,
and
he'll go, we'll have 2 of those.
I feel like George would probably
right?
want to talk about, like, this fundraiser he was doing, some work that Amal's been doing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my acting career. Yeah, if you want to talk about that. Yeah. But you order what you
Julia
want.
Roberts would call him halfway through. Hi.
Hey, Jules, I'm here.
I'm here.
But Brad, I think, would be a bit more aloof. Yeah, I see you mean fun, but maybe talk about himself a bit more. And George is more generous with his time, perhaps.
Yeah.
But both of them, I think, would be nice.
I think because if I'm having an offline, genuine conversation with them, you know, like off the record, I'd love to just ask them, because they've been in Hollywood for a while now. They've seen phases of this new thing, pre-COVID, or any of it, whatever you want to call it, through VHS, DVD. I'd love to just ask them, based on their experience, what's really happening? What's your take? How do you really feel about this? I tell them about the whole WOLFS, you know, coming out of the theatrical release and going to streamers. I'm like, are you just settling for these big streamers? Like, what's the deal here?
Do you ever feel like packing it in? That's what I would say.
Yeah,
do you ever feel like packing it in? No, because he may be like, absolutely, if I could, I would.
You know what? Every day.
Yeah, I can see the Brad Pitt as every day, man, every day.
I guess he's lined up his producing shtick, hasn't he? You see Brad Pitt credited on a lot of films. I'm very used to seeing
Plan B Productions.
Him and Will Ferrell.
Yeah, Will Ferrell.
You would just say, Will Ferrell. There you go, man. Go for it.
Anyway, it just came to my mind actually just when I was watching the two of them in that film, because welcome to Pulp Kitchen episode 148. This week we're going to be reviewing Joker FOLIE À DEUX and WOLFS. Do you know what FOLIE À DEUX means?
It's like a split personality thing,
No, it's a shared delusion between two people.
Oh, I see.
So where two people share the same. So it's in the same way, like
both are there.
Yeah, both are delusion. And WOLFS, and then we will be doing the emails, and I don't know, I completely mind blanked there. It was like I was watching WOLFS again.
We also just recorded our latest episode of Double Take, reacted to the new trailer for The Last of Us Season 2, of which I'm very excited about, so you can catch our thoughts there.
James got very excited, like a child that went past a billboard saying 50 miles or
50 miles
like a child that went past a billboard that said 10 minutes to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And you were like,
I didn't even know I was going.
Yeah.
It was like a surprise.
What? We're going?
Yeah.
That's what you were like. We talked about also the trailer for Disclaimer, this really great new show with Kate Blanchett and Kevin Kline.
They got us by inviting to that event and showing us cool Apple TV Plus trailers. And me and George were like, this looks very good. So we talked all about that, why it looks cool.
Talked a bit about the franchise, the HBO series that's coming out that satirizes superhero movies being made, and a lot of interesting true stories that informed that.
So if you want to go and check that out, head over to our Patreon and you can get access to every episode of Double Take ever made. So every single week that goes by, you get more bang for your buck. And that's the best way to support us. It means the world and enables us to do what we do.
I hope you've had a great week, everyone. We're in the autumn now. We're in the knits. We talked about this before. We're nice some sweater wear.
I look like Henry VIII's 4-poster bed cover.
Yes. You're so Tudor.
You're
Tudor. So Tudor.
Really Tudor.
You really are like come into the hearth and the fire.
Like a retired finance bro.
I said this to James off air. That's a great Christmas jumper because it's got green and red in it, but it's not a Christmas jumper.
Ho, ho, merry all the way.
No. It's some of the flowers look sad.
I'm a complex, nuanced, grey character. Don't assume bright-coloured knitwear means happy days. No, there's more to me.
I would say you're nuanced until you go to McDonald's when you know what you want and you're like,
Have you seen me at McDonald's?
Oh yeah, I've seen you like activate a different part of yourself.
Oh yeah,
you
I know
become
exactly
a simple.
what I
You're
am.
like chicken strips. It's not strips, not nuggets for you, isn't it?
Tenders, yeah.
Tenders.
But I'm not against a nugget. I'm just usually, if I'm there, my full McDonald's order, if you must know, is double quarter pounder with cheese, large fries, water. I don't like soda, and then 5 chicken tenders with all the ketchup they have back there. All the ketchup they have back there. Bring me every sachet of ketchup under that desk, sir.
Do you like the pumps?
I'm anti-pump.
Why?
I don't like. You know why?
It's so much better for the environment.
Of course it is. The whole McDonald's in its own
so
thing.
why? Yeah, let's not go
Talking
into
about
that.
the pumps.
Yeah. Fair enough.
The nozzle is clear at McDonald's, and I can see the old ketchup that I think has been sitting there for a very long time. And
but I think ketchup can sit. Ketchup would survive a blast.
It's designed to sit. Yeah.
It can, we
could put ketchup in our nuclear bunker and be loving it in 2050.
How
about all that ketchup?
This bottle is from the early 2000s. Oh, fantastic! You can taste the difference.
How long does ketchup last? A few years?
Well, I mean, obviously, like for legal reasons, they'll have an expiry date on it. But I think you can. I mean, it's just the citric acid of the tomatoes mixed with the vinegar that they probably put with it, with the sugar as well. Like
me and you, 50 years with our beers, being like, still good.
It's brown now, but it's still good.
Just like we're out of food, but we've got every DVD.
Yeah.
We raided an HMV and just got all the Blu-rays.
Who knows what the future
That's
holds.
a good question. Your apocalypse is happening,
Yeah.
right? We've got our food, we've got our crossbow, we've got all the other essential survival bits. I've got a very cozy bunker for us, right? And I'm like, George, just FYI, I did actually get a Blu-ray player. I know it's not important. You're like, what do you mean you got a Blu-ray player? I'm like, look, details. All I need to tell you right now is that there's
I'm like,
what do you mean? I'm like, I know we didn't need it, but I just think if we're going to do this, right, and the HMV is right there. Some guy's just thrown a dustbin right in the window, okay? There's a Pink Floyd poster being ripped in half. We go straight...
No, someone's going to the HMV posters and you flip through them.
The Zootons, Back to Black, Oasis.
Sorry, carry on.
Rattling it. Plushies. And HMV's a toy shop now.
Yeah.
Look, listen, George, we don't know how long we're going to be.
Yeah.
I'll take you to the Blu-ray section. What are we grabbing?
Well, in terms of like time management, you should really go for like a box set of like Friends, Seinfeld, Frasier, whatever you can grab. Like it just makes sense.
That's quite a number of hours for space in your backpack.
It's perfect.
Right?
It's just like boom, straight in. So let's just take
Grey's
10
Anatomy.
seasons of Grey's Anatomy. Honestly, because you'll take anything. So anything that's massive like that, Friends, Grey's Anatomy, whatever, in the backpack.
And sitcoms rewatchable. Yeah. So even in 20 years, we can go. Let's just watch Seinfeld. We'd be happy.
Also, we could do with company and like multiple people, and the formula, the regularity, the routine of a sitcom
when everything else is not great.
Yeah.
You know.
We
might not talk for days, but we might find ourselves both laughing at the TV.
It's quite easy to give TV as an answer.
Are you going to spend time finding pics you wish you'd seen? Because then you're going to watch it sort of month 3 into the apocalypse, and you're going to be like, well, that's just a DVD. I don't want to rewatch.
I don't want. I'm not going to
waste
time
The Vanishing over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. The sequel to Koyaanisqatsi here. No, it'll be going for like my favourites.
But just in the beginning, in the first 2 weeks, I'll be like, George, I got Old Boy. Let's watch it. Like the world will be going down. I'll be like, I've always wanted to see it.
Yeah,
Koyaanisqatsi, I think bad vibes.
I don't want to. No, I don't want to watch that. No. Right? Well, it's not bad vibes, but it's just something what you need. Also, it'd be like it's out of date now because the world's completely turned upside down.
Yeah, like we're watching Paddington.
Pulp Fiction. No, Paddington 2. Get that in there. Or just get as many favourites. To be honest, not to upend the question, but if it really is the end times, anything will do.
That's true.
Any DVD. We've got time to watch it, good or bad.
Yeah, I see anything. You'd be like, you picked up Snow Dogs?
Cats and Dogs 2?
Yeah.
Why? Oh,
Beverly Hills Chihuahua 3. Of everything, you picked up Beverly Hills.
You picked the second season of a show that got cancelled. Yeah. Why? Yeah. Why? That was an interesting thought exercise.
Send us in your thoughts. What you would put in what films or TV shows you would put in your apocalypse bunker. Would you go apocalyptic in tone, or would it be a bit like
no? I think you want the safest, warmest,
cozy.
Coziest vibe you can. Yeah. Anyway, no apocalyptic films today. We'll just be talking about Joker, FOLIE À DEUX, and WOLFS, and we'll get on with those reviews now.
So George, you and I last night went to a nice little cushy press industry screening for WOLFS. Not Wolves.
Cushy, not cushy because we're like overprivileged. It was a very comfortable cinema. Plush.
New Everyman down near Borough Market. Gorgeous twinkly vibes, nice food, nice drinks.
Snacks.
Great snacks, very well looked after. And Wolves, Apple
Yes.
TV Plus film, which controversially, we covered it on Double Take a few weeks ago, got taken away from it. Its theatrical release got taken away. A lot of questions being asked about the caliber of the talent involved, whether or not that was originally agreed. There's a couple of instances now in the past few months where actors and directors and producers, whoever, have clearly signed onto a film with the intention of it being released theatrically, and also probably a payment structure in place based on box office. All of these complications, and then after the fact, based on, let's be honest, negative reviews, people going, hang on, it's going to cost us how much to release it theatrically? We're just going to sneak this out on stream. We've also talked about this Apple TV Plus look, prestigious approach, like very slick, very expensive looking, sort of made to look like designer cinema, but is there actually any substance behind it? And I think this film actually fits in with that. Clooney and Pitt back together, playing the wolves themselves. We've seen them many times in Soderbergh Ocean's films. They're obviously good friends. We pick up with an opening of this film. A woman has... we cut to a gorgeous $10,000 a night hotel room, and a woman is screaming, covered in blood, and on the floor is a dead young man, and she grabs for her phone, thinks about calling her family, no, can't do that, and then gets to an unnamed number, and a voice picks up, and she says, I was told to call you if anything went wrong. I was told you would be the person to fix it. How did you get my number? It's the voice of George Clooney. She says, look, I was given it to this player, and I was told to say this exact thing. And he says, don't move, don't say anything. I'm going to be there in 20. Don't even pour yourself a drink. Don't touch anything. I'm going to be there in 20 minutes. And in walks in George Clooney, looking. George.
Yeah,
Silver Fox. He's actually quite heavy on the eyeliner for this one. I'm not going to lie.
Really? You think so?
Oh, yeah. George had a little bit of the eyeliner going on.
Well, if you say so.
I noticed it. He's looking fantastic. He's got a gorgeous leather jacket on, and he's got these gloves, and he slowly starts to sort of confidently reassure this person who actually is revealed to be a district attorney who's married. And as he's starting to dispose of this body in a sort of very Harvey Keitel-like role, there's a knock on the door, and who is it but Brad Pitt, dressed basically the same, with the same haircut, with a very similar demeanor, and they sort of look at each other and go, hang on, what are you doing here? I think your services are no longer necessary. I will be the one. They get a call from their third party saying, listen, you guys are going to have to work together. And that is the principal comedy of these guys work alone, but they get caught in this very long night where the disposal of this body goes a little bit wrong, and they get drawn into an odyssey, a saga of late night shenanigans. It's directed by John Watts, who's done the Tom Holland Spider-Man films most recently, and he also wrote this film. And that is basically all you need to know about Wolves. Also stars Austin Abrams and Amy Ryan.
Yeah, actors I like. Also Wolves, I guess, because it's an accidental plural, isn't it? It's like they're meant to be singular, but then there's two of them, so it's that sort of a thing of Wolves.
And guys, they're just going to have to work together.
Yeah.
George, Wolves. We saw it last night. How did you get on?
You've
with
got Clooney.
that film?
You've got Pitt.
Yeah.
Two very charming actors, and it is bafflingly bland.
Oh, it's boring, isn't it?
It's really bland.
Really
it's
is. Guess worse.
It's it really is the cinematic equivalent of sitting in a dentist waiting room. I felt like watching this movie. It was watching John Watts trying to rub two flints together and strike something together. Every so often you get the odd spark and you go, oh, but it never caught light. It never lifted up into life. And it is quite odd because they are inherently charming people. They've done so many films together. They have chemistry with each other, and it just like evaporates on screen. And it's one of those films, a bit like The Lost City with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock, where it looks a bigger film than it actually is.
Yeah.
But with The Lost City, like very quickly just becomes Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock in the jungle. The cast is very small. There's the same thing with Wolves. It's actually like there's maybe 5-6 characters, barely, and it's really just these two in nice looking clothes in a nice looking car driving around New York in the snow. I don't feel any like sort of real. I don't feel like ripping into it. There's something sort of angered me about the film. It is just, it's so benign, but it's benign to the point of it being almost
interesting that it's so benign.
Like
I'm curious as to what happened.
It's like it's almost avant-garde. You almost want to give it a medal and say, well done, you've done it.
Guys,
it's aggressively benign.
You could have done something.
Yeah.
You did nothing.
Yeah. It almost would have taken effort to have been as boring as you have been. It's really, it's stiff and sleepy, and it's awkward. There was no laughter in it. There's occasional.
I had a couple of moments I laughed.
There was the odd
chuckles, but never anything higher.
But
than that.
especially towards the second half, because in the first half you have this sort of hotel room sequence that kind of works. I would have liked it to be a little bit snappier, but yeah, it kind of works.
But it should have. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
But then towards the end, I just did think, what am I watching? I was so disengaged. I was beyond checked out.
I could tell your body language when you lean back. George is out.
I'd beyond checked out. I'd caught my plane. I'd flown home.
He was soaking wet. George was soaking wet.
I got drenched on the way there. It was really quite an experience of how that was, and it does a couple of annoying things where, like, towards the end, it sort of builds up to a moment you think, oh, they're actually going to deliver like a pretty good scene here. This is like the final minute, actually. And they go, nope. And
I thought that last scene was shocking.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty
uneventful, that film. What that film culminated to is nothing.
I think it's a real sad thing, because it's like, oh, you've really like wasted a great opportunity here. Yeah. You've really and people will click on this to see, and they want to see these two actors. And I just. Goodness me.
It's also what's quite mysterious about it is that, like, Clooney and Pitt are the stars they are because they are very versatile actors who can do loads of different things. They're funny. They do great drama. They can probably do... We know Brad Pitt can do action very well. I'm like, you have everything you need with these two, but yet it just never, ever got beyond a simmer.
You know when you, like, back in the old days when you used to photocopy things, you know, like, if you, like, over photocopied something, like if you had a picture, it would look really weird and faded, and I felt like that with this film. Like it felt so it looked like a movie, but it was also so bland compared to what, like, we've seen so many things that are better that are in this field, in this genre. Sirens on our end. And I just thought, what is this here? Why does this exist? It was like watching a balloon deflate for 2 hours.
So I actually enjoyed the opening, and the opening is very slick and suave, and we're seeing our two leads behave in a way that's very slick. But unfortunately, I think the film is so focused on having them be slick and cool for the whole film that nothing else is allowed to happen, and I think that kind of kills it. Like, for comedy and for drama, introduce your characters as exactly who they're supposed to be, which is where everything goes perfectly right, and then let it go wrong and let that fall apart. They don't get dirt on their face at any point. No. I think it's almost what this film screams to me is that it's all just a little bit too comfortable.
Yes,
it really screams to me like a film that's just never had a single constraint on its entire life. I think it's just been overly funded, overly produced, overly made up. And like the opening I found pretty intriguing. I'm like, it's a whole sort of like sub-world in the way that John Wick has the Continental Hotel. You've got these men who will sort things and get rid of things for you, no questions asked. But it just hovered at this hollow simmer, and we get this elongated chase sequence after the first scene that just went on forever. And when you're that bored watching a chase scene, I ended up noticing, I've been to New York a fair few times, but really I've actually just played and platinum the Marvel Spider-Man games. They started in Chinatown, and then within like 5 minutes were way uptown. I'm like, sorry, you think you've run?
Oh yeah,
you've run uptown?
You are. If that's what you're thinking, you are so disengaged.
I'm so bored. I'm just like, there's no way they could have made it from Chinatown to there in that amount of time. Anyway, and it's just staggeringly boring. I thought the ending was just really poor. They cobbled together. Just an explanation that didn't impress me for how the whole film happened. It was so lazy. And I said to George, I just looked and I was like, what? What was that?
Yeah.
Like, I said, what an interesting film to have seen, not because the film was interesting.
Yeah.
More just as like an exercise of seeing how what got made.
Yeah. What poor decisions resulted in this sort of meaningless, effortless thing being happened.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, okay, what could make this more interesting? Like pretty quick, within like 15 minutes, thinking, okay, something needs to happen here. And I thought, actually, I like the fact that they're doing the same job. That's not a problem. I would have preferred it, actually, if their personalities were completely different. I would have liked it if they were both fixers, very good at what they do, but have completely different styles. I bring a little bit of chalk and cheese into it. They are the same character. That we never get their name. They dress the same. And the humour and the interactions between them, like I said, is a bit stiff. You have great charm and chemistry. But I don't know whether it's John Watts or something, but with the Spider-Man films, I always felt like the sort of quippy dialogue scenes never worked to me in the John Watts films, and in particular in No Way Home, where all the villains are in the glass tanks, and Tom Holland and Zendaya and Ned are all stood there talking, and they're all like riffing. It's like, hey, but you said you fell through this. Oh yeah, but Oscorp, you did that, and it's really stiff. And that's what this feels like. Just a little bit of, hey, we'll deliver line here and deliver line there.
It's tepid.
Oh, it's
like
tepid.
Eating a meal deal and looking at a puddle. I don't think if you've seen it, I don't think you've seen a film like it in a lot of ways. It's strange.
It's like I said, it's almost artistic. How boringly bland
and then,
it
like,
is.
the first half is better because I think the opening is almost like you're being sustained by the intrigue of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But as the film goes on and you realise that this film, it has nothing to say, isn't going to do anything interesting in plot, and you get towards the end, you're like, oh my God, I think this is all they're going to offer. Yeah. You're almost just like, I cannot believe it. Do you remember there's a shootout, not at the end, like right before the end with the car?
Yeah.
Do you remember how boring that scene ended?
Yes.
They literally just managed to pick up a thing and went, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Like, they created this almost like, there's a sequence and they're being pushed and there's pressure. And I thought, oh, is there going to be some, like, and it just ends in the most flat way, and it becomes an allegory for how the entire film went.
I think Brad Pitt's like works in this type of character, but like George Clooney is an inherently very charming. I like it when George puts on the charm. Yeah. In this, he was very stony faced. Yeah. I'm a hitman, I'm a fixer. And I would have like, oh God, build personality, please.
I think only one of them should have been in this film, and the other wolf should have been a younger person or someone who
a contrast.
One of them's really uptight, but one of them's really relaxed, and they both clash, but they learn things from each other. It sounds obvious, but
yeah, that's exactly.
Or you cast like a younger person who's the new class doing the same job, and there you have drama, intrigue, progression. Characters can learn something. The characters are in the exact same place at the end of the film as they are in the start.
Inherently, there's an old. It's since time immemorial. All drama is conflict, and all conflict is drama. It would have been great if they had been different. That's what I was talking about. A contrast. I would have actually really liked it if, against George Clooney being this very clean, meticulous person, a bit like Fassbender is in The Killer. Yeah. If the other fixer, the other wolf, had been a sort of more chaotic, messier kind of like, I'm thinking like Gene Hackman pop in French Connection, like but very good at their job also, and they have completely different work styles, and that's also visually contrasted, and that's also relatable because we all, in any work field, in any workspace, people have different work styles, and it's about the relationship between that, but they are the same person.
You shouldn't have had both. I understand the appeal of having both for Clooney, Pitt, WOLFS, which is the same the way they've marketed Joker 2, which is like Gaga, Phoenix, Joker FOLIE À DEUX. But what an interesting film not to watch. No. There's no nothing. There's no nothing. And you watch this really elongated chase sequence. It's not that funny. The funniest thing they do is put something in slow motion and have it not fumble. And look, there are a couple of moments which I actually did chuckle. There's a joke in particular where he's trying to get this guy to tell the story of what happened. Yeah. And he goes, oh, I woke up, and he's like, I know you woke up. Every story ever starts with I woke up. And I was kind of laughing a couple of times.
I said this on Letterboxd. I feel like this is going to be this film is going to have a reverse Mandela effect on it, where everyone is going to forget this film ever existed, but it actually will have done. People will go, that's not a movie. What you're telling me George Clooney and Brad Pitt did a movie called Wolves? No, that never happened.
They've been working together for a long time.
It's like, no, it came out last year and it got sung. So it really is quite empty. I mean, someone tell us what you think. It's not like, we didn't sit there thinking, oh God, it's not fun. It's not like a car crash to watch and point out all these things.
It's not like deeply unpleasant to watch. It's well acted.
It's like a globule, just a shapeless piece of matter.
It's not irritating to watch in the moment, but like afterwards you'll just be like, that was a waste. So I think towards the end is when you'll really just be irritated. You'll be like, this all culminated to nothing. My time was wasted.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, that's a better film.
Yeah, kind of a similar like a look and almost, I don't even want to say it.
The Nice Guys. The Nice Guys.
Yeah, it's an insult to both of those films.
It's an insult to both those films, to both the actors in this, but anyway, that was Wolves. See it if you want to. I'm not surprised they pulled it.
As always, if you had thoughts about Wolves, you can send them into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. We would love to read them out on the show. Do you know what I mean? It's too comfortable.
Yeah.
No one got dirt on their face.
Yeah.
I felt like there was someone holding their turmeric latte right off camera, ready to just go.
And they kind of got sucked into the cycle of, Brad, George, hey, that's really fun. Yeah. George, are you doing this? Yeah, Brad, I am. Let's do that. Oh, that's great. Well, we can grab lunch after.
I'll do a film with my best friend. Yeah. Lovely. Yeah.
And wear nice clothes and look fantastic.
Sirens on our end. Sorry.
We don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Could choose the leather jacket.
Come on.
It's,
I found it, I did, particularly Brad Pitt's costume, I found it quite annoying how bland his character's dress up was. Like George Clooney's made sense for his, but for Brad Pitt's, like your costume. I've never been more aware of bad costume design. For a character, I was like, give me more.
Anyway. Also, the scene with the woman in the red light district, like that just went nowhere.
What is that?
What was the interest? What was the draw? It's baffling. It's quite baffling. I don't want to rail on it because it's very easy to do this, but moving on. That was Wolves.
So, James, let's do Joker Folie à Deux, the sequel to Joker, Todd Phillips' Joker 2019, which obviously was a huge success, a complete reimagination, rebranding of the Joker character, casting Joaquin Phoenix in a sort of break-off film not related to any of the existing universes that we'd seen on screen. Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar for it. Also, isn't it the most successful R-rated movie of all time?
Is it?
It might change now, I suppose.
It's up there.
But it was phenomenal. Huge. Or quote, fastest film to reach $1 billion. It broke some record.
Much better than expected.
Much better than expected.
We probably critically as well, I think.
When we've spoken about it in the past, you and I kind of split. I'll actually hold my hands up because I'm a slave to my own rule. It's been 5 years.
Wow, yeah.
So I am due a rewatch of it. And I know you rewatched it recently.
Yeah, I rewatched it, I want to say 3-4 months ago.
Yeah,
just
you speak quite positively. I think it's always been, for me, just slightly overrated. I always thought there was nothing deeper happening with it. But anyway, 5-year rule. And going into this, I want to say that I did take on board what you were saying, which is that you made this point about how a lot of people who were at film school with Todd Phillips noted that this is the real Todd Phillips, not The Hangover, not the old school Todd Phillips who made those comedy movies, but this kind of side. So I definitely had that in my head. But anyway, we pick up 2 years after the events of Joker. Arthur Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix, is in Arkham Asylum. He is a prisoner there, being detained, awaiting the trial for the murders that he committed in the first film, for the 5 murders that he committed. He's overseen by a prison warden, played by Brendan Gleeson. Always great to see.
Yeah,
great, nice to have that.
He's got more lines than I thought.
Yeah, and his lawyer is Catherine Keener, also a good actor. Great to see her in it. And he's sort of being prepped for the trial that is coming, a trial that is the prosecution of which is being led by a very young Harvey Dent. If you know your DC, you know who that is. And during his time at Arkham Asylum, he crosses paths with a member of the minimum security ward, which is Lee Quinzel, played by Lady Gaga, who they immediately strike up a connection. They have something in common. She recognizes in Arthur a deeper need. Essentially, she recognizes that Joker is the guy that he should be, and the person that people need. Even though the lawyers and the psychiatrists are all telling him, you have a split personality, you need to get away from the Joker side of yourself, and hold on to the Arthur side of it. Builds up, and very quickly we're in trial. That is the main focus of the film. This sort of legal procedure, his interaction with Lee Quinzel, the sort of media hype around the circus, and at the heart of it, as ever, is Joaquin Phoenix in an incredibly skeletal, emaciated, physical state. I think that's all plot-wise that we want to go into. Obviously, this is going to be a spoiler-free review.
Yeah, spoiler-free review.
So anyway, Joker Folie à Deux.
Interestingly, you and I, when we were queuing up to go and see it, we're just about to head in. We're sort of rushing, trying to get through, and you said, "Geez, what do you think ahead of this?" And I said, "You know what, George? I really don't know. It could go either way. But I think in my head, I thought it would definitely be a couple of things. I knew it would be gorgeous to look at, and it is. It's very beautifully shot. Lawrence Sher's cinematography and his use of colour still is fantastic. And I said, I know it had good performances. But what I really didn't expect to happen was that this film would bore me. And that is what's so surprising about it, is that I was bored. And a little bit disappointed at the narrative direction it went down. I actually think the structure of a trial really constrains the narrative of this film, and I felt that it didn't actually enhance the story and create a sequel to let's be honest, the origin story of this Joker that I think this film needed. The musical additions, while beautiful to look at and cinematic, and everyone's having a good time dancing and posing and getting dressed up, and everything looks great in a spotlight, ultimately I found the script to be very, very thin. And if you were to take the musical numbers out of this, I really don't think you'd have anything left. I think it ends on a note that's very predictable and nothing-y, and I think Joker at the end of this film is actually in almost the exact same place that he is at the end of the first one. And I think Joaquin Phoenix, though always complex and over the top, I think there's a sense that he's a little bit sort of clutching at straws for ideas, and that some of the takes we were seeing were maybe one of many odd takes that he presented. And I think it's a shame, because I do think the first film, although I take on board a lot of people's criticism when they say that what you see is what you get, and it maybe lacks a sort of duality that I think you'd want from that film. What the first film does, which is what makes it really interesting is that it's very provocative. It has a scene in it which I think is one of the most violent scenes we've ever seen in a comic book film. It's really provocative, and I think the fact that Joker is going to commit an act of violence in Joker 1 is a foregone conclusion. You know that's going to happen, and when you watch that play out, and that moment for Arthur Fleck is his heroic moment, that creates a really uncomfortable feeling for those watching it, and the joke of what you get when you have someone who's been abandoned by society. You get what you effing deserve. That moment of catharsis for him and a little bit for the audience is very unsettling, because we've seen it happen, and it's a commentary on society, and whether or not that's an accident, I nonetheless think that makes the film very interesting. This film just didn't offer any other element for me, and I think it's a real disappointment.
I agree. It's actually a shame to do an episode where two of the most boring films I've seen this year have been in the same week. We saw within 24 hours each other. But unlike Wolves, my issue with Joker is different. And actually, when I talked about Wolves, I said I didn't overall have any frustration with it. I got more frustrated with Joker because I think it's built on different foundations. And so my issue with Joker 2 is that my overwhelming sense from it is that it fundamentally doesn't want and doesn't need to exist. Yeah. I always thought that with the first one. I think Todd Phillips made a breakaway movie that no one expected, and people got really excited about it, which is great. And in a way, it was kind of Todd Phillips's two fingers up to the studio industrial process of making superhero movies, and it was great that Warner Brothers got on board with it.
It was refreshing to watch.
And now he's been co-opted and sucked into producing a sequel to the very thing that was a film against that. I don't think, looking also at Todd Phillips and Joaquin at the premiere, which we went to, I don't think Todd Phillips really was creatively interested in making a sequel, and what comes across in the film, definitely, I don't think Joaquin Phoenix is creatively interested. And what you get in Joaquin Phoenix's performance is a restlessness, a directionlessness, and I think it's so apparent. There's one particular scene where he just decides to use 3 different accents, and I get it. You're joking, you're being aloof, you're being different, but in our audience, all of us are sort of thinking, but what is this going towards? And that tells me, Joaquin, you are just bored and restless and
like
thinking,
a half-baked
I'm going to try this.
Idea.
Yeah, and I actually think the whole making the film a musical was Joaquin sort of putting pressure on and going, oh, if we have to do it, you know what? Why don't we make it a musical? That'll be interesting.
We don't know he said that, but
no, we don't know. But
like...
it's a complete conjecture. This is my theory, but I'm also, to give it context, it's the stories we've heard of Todd Phillips saying that they would have a whole day of shooting set up. Joaquin would turn up to set, and he would say, actually, what if we do this differently? And that speaks to me as someone who's not invested and for me, it's also it's ephemeral. It comes through in this performance. I just don't think he's locked in and engaged in the same way. I also think that happened in Napoleon, and that Joaquin was like, he was just doing his own movie. Yeah. He didn't really care about the rest of it, and that's kind of what's happening here. I agree. I think it's very shallow. My issue that really actually bugs me is like a fundamental storytelling issue, which is, what does Arthur want? Yeah. Does he want to be in Arkham? Does he want to be out of Arkham? Does he want to be dead? Does he want to be alive?
Does he want to be a villain now? Does he want to... Yeah.
Really basic, dramatic questions that are the building blocks of all drama.
And those questions about what the Joker wants are part of his genius, part of his fascination. And that is an interesting question to ask.
And there's this sort of very navel-gazy, intense, shadowy scene shot with Lee Quinzel, with Lady Gaga's character. And I just thought, in this scene, I remember thinking, we have missed the point here, haven't we? We have, not only have you missed the point of kind of your first film, but we've gone so far now with forgetting the fact that this is based off of a DC character. Like, you can give your vision, you can give your spin, but like, let's not kid ourselves here, guys. Like, you have good source material, but like, use it. And I think they're trying to break away so much. It really didn't work. And I think, I agree, the great tragedy is that this seemingly novel idea to throw in musical numbers, the really sad thing is that they add nothing. They add absolutely nothing. For a start, most of the songs aren't original. No. They're whipped out of the Warner Brothers back catalogue, which fine, whatever. But every time a song number would start, I would go, oh,
they all look great for the trailer.
Look great for the trailer. Yeah. There's one
beautiful sets. Gaga's doing her thing, sparkly dress.
There's one number that kind of works in the courtroom, and I actually think in that sequence, it's the only time you get to see proper Joker, mad Joker, maniacal Joker. It's
kind of a like razzle dazzle them from Chicago moment, or both reached for the gun. Like, that's an insult to that.
And I actually think
coming up to that,
if they just had that one number and not sold the rest of the film as being a musical, it would have been quite novel. It would have been quite a stroke of genius. But really, it's,
the main crux this film tries to engage with the main crux of the trial is. The argument is, does Arthur Fleck have a split personality? If he did, therefore, would that indicate that he is mentally unwell and could be, revoked of his crime? And that just isn't properly addressed or made interesting. No. I think, considering the way Joker ended, he became a hero in that world to a mob of people. I think this film should have taken him out of the court drama and the prison within the first act. Yeah. And it should have then been, what does this man who's been lost by society, who's committed an act of violence, who's actually been like enabled and liberated and activated by violence, what does he now want to do in Gotham? What does he have to say? It should have been more of a study of the world. The first film takes place in Arthur's delusion, and that becomes increasingly uncomfortable as the film goes on. That's part of why it sits with you in a very strange way. But this should involve that.
And what I enjoyed in the first one, though, is that Arthur's... we're on the streets of Gotham. We're pounding the pavement. He's on the subway. And, like, I couldn't help but feel in this, you see the crowds at the courtroom, and you hear the shouts outside, but essentially our character is literally isolated for a lot of this this
prison
movie.
On an island.
And I started to think I would really like to know about the media mania, the growing social discontent that has been lit by Arthur's presence. And also I would like to know about Harvey Dent building this case against him, because Harvey Dent, played by this British actor, and he was very charming actually. I think it was pretty good. It's kind of very suave Harvey Dent. I started to think I'd like to know about that story. Just having some guy await a trial and repeat all the stuff that happened in the first film is not interesting. The whole film, really, as you say, could be the first act to a greater film.
And the whole Joker's cronies thing is always interesting in Batman. And in the first one, they are aware of him and they're all dressed up like him and they help him escape the police. And it's part of mobilizing this mob accidentally. That's fun. I just think the decision structurally for the film was a mistake, and therefore you go, well, this actually, when you think about it, the sequel didn't have to happen. It would have been much more impactful as a standalone film that sat there on its own, going, listen, what a strange film with a brilliant performance that really subverted expectations for what you could do within a comic book film. And just surprisingly dull. That's what's really.
I never thought I would say that. It
was my least. Really, what I didn't think would happen. I didn't think I'd be bored. I thought maybe I wouldn't like X, Y, and Z.
James and I are always paying attention to the audience we're seeing it with and their engagement, and you can hear it in the room.
And this audience these premiere audiences will definitely show the very best of a film, but because they're very engaged and if they've come here specifically for the day, I also think it becomes very obvious when people are not with a film. It's like when we saw Bad Boys 4, that film really had the audience, and it massively improved that film. People were laughing and cheering, and it enhanced the best parts of that film.
You'd be surprised to hear us say that Bad Boys 4 was better than Joker Folie À Deux.
A better sequel than Joker Folie À Deux.
And people, when we were leaving, some people were like fuming. Some people were just like,
I saw,
really baffled and confused about it. And I think that's what frustrates me. You try and build in this musical element. You're trying to be innovative. It just inherently, deep down, fundamentally, doesn't want to exist.
I think it's done great things for the cinematography showreel.
Yeah, beautiful. That's great.
I think ultimately, it's just a bit of a disappointment. I think I had 3 friends message me after they saw that we were at the premiere, and 3 of them was like, "Oh, how's Joker 2? How's Joker 2?" And I was like, "Mate, it's kind of dull." Yeah. And they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, by all means, go see it, but I actually just found it very boring and unnecessary." Which is because I think a lot of people, and they were like, "Oh, I love 2019." And I was like, "Yeah, I like 2019. It's great." I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed. Yeah. But as always, we would love to hear your thoughts. If maybe you got a little bit more out of it than we did. As always, send in your reviews to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com.
It is a weird feeling to review 2 dull duff movies for you guys back to back, which on the face of it, both films should have been much better. Yeah. Both films that scream star power, that scream cinema, and it's been a strange week.
And I'm disappointed that they didn't rise to the occasion, because with Joker 1, nobody really expected you to be that good, and I don't think there was a big expectation that it would resonate with audiences. And there's something quite exciting about a great creative partnership, many great creative partnerships, where you go, hang on, now we have the world's attention, now we have the approval and the budget. What can we do now? I always think that's a really exciting thing for a sequel, and to see them just not stick the landing, or not take what I think is the most interesting part of Joker 1 and subvert again. Yeah. Really double down on what it is that people are. What is your morbid curiosity to go back to this character if you found it really difficult to watch the first time? Play on that. Use that as like a I can already in my head start to think of like reasons why I'd want to really provoke an audience who found Joker 1 interesting or entertaining. Or if you're rooting, I think if you're watching that film and you're rooting for Arthur Fleck, the really interesting question is why.
Yeah.
So just disappointing.
Guys, as ever, let us know your thoughts to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. We'd really appreciate it. Those are our thoughts on it. Moving on to the emails. James, as ever, let's read some of the emails that the Sirens have been sending in to us at hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. You can do that just like Tina did. Tina writes in and says, "Hello, George and James and George. I hope this message finds you well. I'd like to propose a carefully curated movie marathon that would introduce our alien visitors to the essence of humanity." This was because a couple of weeks ago, James, you talked about, was it Voyager 1 and the disc?
Yes, of course.
And what films we should give to aliens to encounter humanity. My suggestion, Tina says, is to showcase a triple bill consisting of the films Apollo 11 from 2019, First Man from 2018, and Apollo 10.5, A Space-Age Childhood 2022. These three films, while different in style and perspective, offer a comprehensive journey through one of humanity's most remarkable achievements, space exploration. Beyond that, they reveal the deeper layers of human curiosity, resilience, and imagination. Apollo 11 captures our technological achievements through the real-life moon landing, while First Man focuses on the personal sacrifices and emotions behind those feats. Apollo 10.5, it brings a nostalgic, imaginative look at life during the space race, showing humanity's creativity and themes and dreams. Together, these three films provide a nuanced and engaging way to introduce aliens to our species, showing not only our scientific prowess, but also our emotional depth and imaginative spirit. Thank you for all your great work. Kind regards, Tina.
Yeah, Tina, I think that's bang on. I think there's a great shouts for the aliens. Because also, I think you could get a good sense, again, aliens don't speak English as far as we're aware. Like, even without language. I've not seen Apollo 10.5. But it's almost like I could get...
Yes.
If I was just to see those images, I'd go, okay, these humans, they've accomplished, they're in space a bit, but there's something there.
It's nice to show aliens that we can build massive things that aren't just for war and for destruction.
Yeah.
We went to great effort to do something that was inherently just about knowledge and exploration. So it shows that we are open to learning. We are open to engaging with
space.
I love space.
Just love it.
Don't you just love
Let's go back to
a
the
good
moon.
bit of space? Some people say get lost in space.
We need to go back to the moon. Just saying.
The moon.
We need to shoot the moon in 4K. I'm just saying. I want a GoPro on Jake Paul's head. I want it to be like in the moon, just to get rid of all of
what
that.
up? I'm on the moon.
Yo, I'm gonna be boxing Conor McGregor on the moon, pay-per-view. Just all of it. Just get the influences out there. It all just needs to be done.
Okay, thank you, Tina.
Needs to be visited again. This next one is from Nicholas, who writes into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com, and he says, "Hi, James and George and James.
Hi.
Subject: professional annoyance, extras, passing of legends. Is there anything from your professional career or hobbies that films get wrong? I'm a mechanic, and Fast and Furious franchise leaves me furious. I understand it's an over-the-top action with far-fetched scenes, but for God's sake, it wouldn't be that hard to get simple things right. A reversing car would never keep up with a car driving forward. There are too many to list. Sad to hear the passing of James Earl Jones. What an iconic voice. When an actor passes, I have a habit of rewatching a film they have starred in. There's a sadness too, but it sometimes makes me appreciate the movie more. Do you guys watch or rewatch a film when an actor passes to homage them? Quick question. If you could be an extra in a TV or a film, what would it be? Walking Dead or Star Wars for me. I love the show and listen as much as I can. Even though my wife doesn't listen to the full episodes, we always play the game at the end. From the North in Carlisle. Nick. And then I'll go back to Nick's PS. But George, first question is anything from your professional career or hobbies that films get wrong?
Off the top of my head, I would actually say I think you might have the same thing with our other halves being barristers.
Oh, yeah, sure.
There are lots of things, legal things that I get
ruined for me.
That I kind of go, yeah, you can't do that.
No.
Even with Joker, that's the American legal system, which is different.
Yeah.
But there's a point where I was like, well, he's badgering the witness. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm watching Presumed Innocent with Anna. Anna was like, there's no way that would ever be allowed to happen.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You have to have this. And I'm like, that's great. Really shatters the illusion for how these things
It's always like
work.
when the lawyer gives their opinion, and Tally's like, the lawyer doesn't give an opinion.
Yeah.
What they think doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am horrified.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't talk about what you think. My one, while not necessarily tied to my career, like I love tech. I'm very techie. And so for me, when like hacking computers, search engines, anytime you're you're Googling something that isn't Google. Or I'm not saying it should be Google, and I understand it makes money, but just sometimes I think the decision to omit certain technology for the sake of not being distracting is way more distracting than it ever could be. And I'm just like, hacking, not obscure operating systems will just get me.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I would also say, having worked in architecture, I get frustrated when like a plot point or a character will be like, well, yeah, that person was the architect for the whole thing, and they use the term architect to mean they were the engineer, they were the developer, they did every single thing. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
And then also like one singular person was the architect. So like you could have like a city like, oh yeah, they were the architect. Like, what do you mean one person did it?
Yeah.
You know how much drawing that requires?
The architect of the Matrix. You don't think he had a team of people working with him?
Oh, damn it.
Thank you. And then also, if you could be an extra in a TV or film, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, the thrill of being an extra in anything would be great. Off the top of my head, I just only thought like Mad Men, because it's like you get to wear really cool clothes, but it's also not like, you know, like Game of Thrones would be cumbersome to put on like all the heavy walls and the armor.
Yeah.
But like something about a 1960s suit. Oh, lovely.
I'd like a Scorsese crime epic.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm just
in the back of a smoky bar.
I'm in the back of a cafe.
You're in the booth. Your back of your head is in the booth.
And
while
Al Pacino's
Pacino's. Yeah. Oh,
and I just love to like Car and Scorsese just casually. So what do we talk?
Al,
for this scene, you know, I like the way you did it. Yeah, but I want to look at the script. So I think we go with that.
Yeah,
we go with that. Okay, Bobby. Yeah, we're gonna go again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bobby Cannavale's there. Like, well, you gotta fucking do the scene.
Bobby Cannavale, good actor.
Underrated actor.
Underrated actor in a lot. But in a good way. Like, I'm glad he turns up in a lot of things. And he delivers.
Yeah. So I go for like, I just want to see Scorsese doing this thing. I'd have taken Killers of the Flower Moon or The Departed, but I think specifically his brand of Italian American.
It would be cool to do
Goodfellas,
Star Wars,
Casino, Star Wars
in its heyday.
Yeah.
Because again, we've talked about this before. There's different. I don't want to be going on the Acolyte.
I don't want to be gasping when it's like somehow Palpatine returned. I'm like,
what? No, you're joking.
I didn't think he'd do the same. That is really inconvenient.
I want to be in like Andor or Rogue One, like running along.
Yeah.
Or,
at the end of The Last Jedi, just one of the guys like, Luke's not even there. How embarrassing, humiliating for Kylo Ren. And then lastly, Nick says a PS. I was wondering if you could please give a shout out to Andy's Man Club. It's a men's mental health charity. Whether you're going through a storm or just need a safe, non-judgmental place to chat, we meet every Monday, 7 to 9. It's all over the UK. Please see websites to find the closest one to you. I've been going on about it for 3 months and have seen a massive improvement. I'm going for about 3 months and I've seen a massive improvement in my mental health. And now I can't wait to see the same for others. That is the best thing for me is seeing people improve, but the hardest part for people is usually walking in the door. Whenever you feel down, the best thing to do is talk about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. What the name of that again?
That is the Andy's Man Club.
Absolutely. Good. Here. Good shout.
Thank you very much.
This next email is from, I want to say, Ghazal. Apologies if I've pronounced that incorrectly. Ghazal says, hello, George and James and George. I found you on Instagram and I've been listening to your great podcast for a few months now. Slowly, but very consistently catching up with your back catalogue.
Thank you very much.
I wrote in to tell you I really enjoy your content and specifically these editorial episodes. Since I live in Iran, I think you might be our first Iranian listeners written in. Fantastic. Hello to Salam, Kholechatore. It's a little bit of Farsi for you there. Thank you. Khuban, merci. I had an Iranian friend when I was younger. And I don't get to watch new movies for at least...
Sorry? That was something.
Have you never... I know a little bit of Farsi.
You just breaking to the camera.
Having a conversation in Farsi.
Yeah, that's a new one, but yeah, by all means, keep going.
Yeah. It's a complete non sequitur. Sorry, Ghazal says, since I live in Iran and I don't get to watch new movies for at least a couple of months after international releases.
Right.
So, while waiting for new films, the editorial episodes keep me company. I thought I should let you know how geographically far your podcast has gone. Love the podcast and Instagram interviews. Please do more editorials. Well, we did, obviously, the one a couple of weeks ago. We covered like 5 odd editorial topics in one.
We have plans for more.
But obviously, when you have big films like Joker 2 come out, we've got to cover it.
Yeah, in full transparency, the time when those episodes come out usually is when we need to record an episode ahead of time, and we're not going to talk about the films of that week. But they really perfectly slot in every month or two, and many more ideas to come.
They are like in TV when they would do a bottle episode out of necessity. It's like you'll get 1 to 2 a season, and that's why. You'll get 1 to 2 episodes. You get an editorial episode probably from us every 2 months.
Yeah, and those actually are some of our highest, actually the 3 of them are some of our highest performing episodes ever, which is always great to know that even if, because I think sometimes inherently with our show, we're going to cover the films of the week, but some of those films, because they're titled, will not be of interest to people, and therefore they might not listen to the episode. I know you hardcores there come for every week, but still, it's like that actually has more broad appeal of the best of the 2010s or the worst underrated things has more appeal, and that's fantastic. So we'll just sort of keep mixing it up. But as for now, it's Joker, Folie à Deux, and WOLFS. Moving on, Jared writes in to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com and says, "Hello, Mr. Movie Men, friend of the show and patron Jared here." Jared, thank you.
Thank you.
I was the guy who watched Babylon in theaters 8 times. That is
you,
Jared.
We talked about you.
Yes, I wanted to check how many times, but it was 8.
It's 8.
8.
8 times.
8 times. Congrats.
What's 3 times 8? That's 24 hours. That's a day of Babylon.
That is,
That's a singular...
It's like something Shia LaBeouf would do as an experiment. He'd watch his films all in one sitting.
Wow.
You just did Babylon. I reckon you've seen it more than Damien Chazelle.
Yeah.
Like the final cut.
I bet Damien Chazelle's like, you didn't need to do that.
I reckon Damien Chazelle has seen like, the earlier takes.
Yeah.
But I reckon you've seen Babylon more than Damien. Like Babylon Final Cut more than Damien Chazelle.
If we ever meet Damien Chazelle, we've got to tell him this.
Yes.
We've got to tell him that one of our listeners has seen your film 8 times.
I just did it, Jared goes on to say, I just did a huge thing. I moved to LA on my own, trying to live the dream and make it happen. I have loved exploring the city so far, especially all of the film cinema opportunities to take advantage of. Tonight, I'm going to a screening of La La Land in the parking with a live orchestra conducted by the Justin Hurwitz. I think in the parking lot. Or is that the parking theatre? I don't know. I'm also trying to get tickets for a screening of Scarface with a Q&A with Pacino in person. Wow. Being that I'm in a new city across the country, I'm from Florida, I want to cope with my time alone the best way I can. Movies. I would love to know the quintessential movies you think of when you think of LA. There are obvious ones like La La Land, Mulholland Drive, and Heat, but I wanted to know what you would recommend. I know you guys are not US based, but I trust your taste as always. Much love, Jared. We have covered this before. You had one, didn't you?
Well, first of all, I'd say if you really want to get an answer, Jared, go back and listen to the bonus episode we did when we spoke to James from Raiders of the Lost podcast. He's from they're based in LA. They're from Boston, I think, originally, but based in LA. And we said, what are your favorite LA movies? We chatted about that. So go there. And we had a message from one of our listeners, Priya, who had sent her suggestions of her favorite LA places.
Mulholland Drive is great.
Mulholland Drive, Rebel Without a Cause, Drive's
cool. I feel like I recently answered this question. I would check that.
I would check that's our answer, is to go and check the most recent
thank you
one.
as always for your support. It means the world.
This next email is from Craig. Craig says, "Hello, gents. I loved the different episode the other day." That's the one of us in Primrose Hill. And I wanted to write in about movies that make you cry. Something about me, I love a good cry. There's nothing like watching a movie that just makes you feel, be it tears of joy or sadness. I actually have a list on my letterbox called Movies That Break Me, so I remember where to turn when I want a good cry. Mm-hmm. The list, in no particular order, is All of Us Strangers.
Oh, yeah.
Close. Past Lives. Mm-hmm. Monster from 2023. Stand By Me. Soul. Coco. Good Will Hunting, Saving Mr. Banks, Dead Poets Society, Life of Pi, Little Miss Sunshine. I'm always looking for any movies to add to this list. Bonus points for queer themes. So any suggestions? On that note, Monster from director Harukazu Koreeda was one of my favourite films from last year, and Close from Lucas Don are two that don't get talked about enough. Yeah, Close is a friend of mine has told me to watch Close. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. P.S. Brokeback Mountain has been floating at the top of my list forever. I'll watch it when I have some days off to work to recover from Craig. So, well, first of all, Craig, I just want to say I agree that I love a good cry. I love it when a movie makes me feel like that. I love it would be if it's just watery eyes, a single tear, or the full blub. I love it. All of Us Strangers, I agree. That was something for me. And if you want another good cry with queer themes, Andrew Haig's previous film, Weekend, similar to All of Us Strangers, was really good. So you like Saving Mr. Banks quite a bit, don't you?
Yeah, I do you know, I watched it once and for some reason it didn't really click with me. And then I rewatched it again with Talia and we were both bawling. It's really effective. And it's not a film that I'd usually be... I maybe would have sneered at it. I'd be like, right, we're going to get the story of how Mary Poppins got made. Did anyone ask for that? But it's bloody good. Yeah. Tom Hanks.
Colin Farrell. As the dad. Don't forget in the flashbacks.
Yeah, he's very good in it. Colin Farrell, man.
He's a great actor. What an actor.
Yeah, you know what? I would 100% rewatch that this Christmas. If someone said, "Oh, do you want to watch Saving Mr. Banks?" I'd go, "F yeah."
How about this for a movie night? Mary Poppins 1,
Yeah.
Saving Mr. Banks, Mary Poppins Returns. Or
Oh,
would you do it in a different order?
I actually think it's more powerful to watch it after you've seen Saving Mr. Assuming you've already seen Mary Poppins, I think you should watch Saving Mr. Banks and then watch Mary Poppins.
So let's say it's Christmas time.
It makes the theme.
You want to do a movie, triple bill. You go Saving Mr. Banks, Mary Poppins 1, and then you can do Mary Poppins Returns
have a break,
as well.
have a drink and a dinner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You do pre-dinner, post-dinner,
Yeah.
dessert,
Yeah.
maybe go back.
Yeah.
That's what we do at Christmas time. You have a big meal, and you go start a movie, and you get halfway through, you go, that's great. Let's grab some dessert.
That's great.
My responsibility.
You should
at
do
Christmas,
your festival.
Yeah, basically. So we'll talk about this close to Christmas, but it is obviously at Christmas time. Everyone in a family is given a role to do. You know, okay, you're in charge of buying this. You're in charge of that. It's bestowed upon me to curate a lineup of films for us all to watch because you're spending a lot of time with people inside. What are you going to do? Watch movies.
Do you do an opening monologue like Jimmy Kimmel? All right, folks, come in here.
I
blaze you in on the show tonight.
No, but I do what I call the vocal equivalent of like a movie pamphlet. Some people, so I have to be like, okay, guys, we're
an embossed card.
Yeah, we're watching this tonight because it's this long and we need to fit it in with this. And
you'll take good care of attention of runtime and time of day and post meal, pre meal.
So Ari, this conversation, it's my duty as the warden of film to decide when the break is.
You don't currently know at this stage what great content is going to be showing on BBC One on Christmas Day. What ITV? You don't know what's going to be showing. Yeah. So you want to go, oh well, actually, the Doctor Who Christmas special. Maybe we want to catch that. Hang on.
But it has to come through me.
I need to bring out Saving Mr. Banks.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's an understood, unspoken rule that no one can just go, oh, well, let's just put this on. Because it's like, no. George has got a timetable and a system. You can bring it to me and say...
Okay, guys, it's 5. We need to be sitting down.
And they're like, oh, George, what's on the list? Can we watch this? Okay, well, if I take that film out, we don't have to... But usually I know not just what films I want to watch, but what days I'm going to show them on. I'm like, that's good after Christmas Day. That's good for... Anyway,
do you do is it Glastonbury on the pyramid stage you can catch here, and in the living room or in the other room you can catch? There'll be a screening.
The other room is usually for my dad when he doesn't want to watch what we want to watch. I'm like, well, there's a football match starting at this time
on the West Holt stage.
Yeah,
screen.
Do you want what's on my list so far for this year?
You know what? I think you should. I'd love to know, but I actually think you should save it nearer the time.
All right, guys, towards Christmas time,
I would love to know. But
the Pundek family.
It should be announced.
Christmas festival,
and then the Sirens if they wanted to partake.
The headline because also I do last year the headline act was Oppenheimer on Christmas Day.
Great, yeah, love it.
Okay,
so stay tuned for George's menu.
Thank you. I'm actually
festival
excited
lineup.
Yeah, a little cozy.
Adam writes in and says, hi George and James and George, first time writer, semi-regular listener, an old school friend of George from many moons ago.
Hello.
Our mums have remained in touch and my mum put me onto the pod around a year ago.
Adam
Cook.
Oh,
Adam Cook.
Oh my God.
I only say semi-regular listener as I love the pod, but like to have seen many of the films you discuss before I listen. Keeping up with you guys can be a challenge. George, it is great to see that you have followed your passion for films that was so abundantly clear at school. I have many fond memories of watching Alien for the first time in your house, despite finding it terrifying at the age of 11 or 12, and performing sketches from Monty Python's Holy Grail together at local drama competitions. I can picture it now. Yeah. I have been meaning to write in for a while, but while your recent episode on Top of Primrose Hill finally gave me the push I needed, I also recently saw Prima Facie in the cinema and thought it was absolutely fantastic. I thought Jodie Comer's performance was phenomenal, and it reminded me of the challenges I faced when acting at school and the admiration that I still have for top-class stage acting. Learning so many lines and remaining on stage.
You were good at school, Adam. You were a good actor.
There you go. Learning so many lines and remaining on stage for the entirety of the show is one thing, but combining that with a performance that does justice to the character and the subject matter at the same time is something else. I've always rated Jodie Comer as an actor, but this performance blew me away. It was also the second or third time my mum had seen it, and she loved rewatching it. Anyway, George's interaction with a mouse in the cinema while watching Prima Facie.
I just explained when I talked about the mouse. It wasn't just on the floor; it was on the armrest next to me. Okay, it was close proximity.
Interaction with a mouse while watching Prima Facie made me laugh, as I've recently been dealing with a mouse issue of my own that inspired my question for you both. My girlfriend had a mouse invade her bedroom a few weeks ago, causing much distress, giving her phobia of rodents with tails. The saga of trying to catch and remove it spanned around 10 days, with many trips between my flat in southwest London and hers in east, eventually culminating in a one-on-one face-off between the mouse and I in her ensuite. After I managed to catch and release it, I wallowed in relief and victory by saying that we had to watch Mouse Hunt, a 1997 classic from my my childhood, starring Nathan Lane and Lee Evans, in which two brothers are tormented by their endless endeavour to catch a mouse that inhibits a home they both inherit. It is a film I've seen many times, but I found a new connection to the characters given the recent back and forth I had with a mouse of my own. And it was nice to take my girlfriend on a nostalgia trip now that she is free to sleep in her room again. So, my question is, have either of you been impacted by an event such as this that has created an immediate desire to rewatch a film? Love the pod and all the content. Best, Adam.
Okay, Adam. First of all, lovely to hear from you. That's so. I wasn't aware that you listened to the show like this. So thank you so much, and I hope you're really well.
Nice to meet
I
you,
don't
Adam.
actually remember. I don't think I remember watching Alien with you. I'm sorry I subjected you to that, but I do remember I saw the Incredibles with Adam.
Not the In-Betweeners.
No, not the In-Betweeners. But I remember this. This is such a niche memory because I was at your house, Adam, and it was after school, and then we were going to see the Incredibles at the cinema, and you did something that I thought was incredibly rogue, which is that we were playing on the PlayStation on the Incredibles game, and when it was time to go to the cinema, you just paused your PlayStation 2, and we left. And I was like, did you not remember with PlayStation 2s, you can never leave it on pause for too long? It damaged. We had a PlayStation 2, we damaged it because we left the game on pause. Damages the laser or something. And I was like, this is rogue. This guy's disregard for his own PlayStation is crazy. You know what? We came back, pause, carried on playing. Blew my mind. Not very interesting detail, but specific to my childhood experience.
PS2s weren't the most durable PlayStation.
No.
I never had one. I wasn't allowed.
No way!
No,
of all the people, I thought you had a PS2. So you don't have nostalgia for like the games.
I was not allowed. I played lots of them at friends' houses, and I played computer games.
Right.
I wasn't allowed a home console.
Oh. Yeah. Which is maybe this is why you've swung the other way.
Totally,
you're so
100%. It was like really withheld from me.
Oh wow!
And I always loved games, and I always told myself that like when I grow up and make my own money, if I want a game, I'll buy a game.
Wow!
Hence the
and
massive addiction. That's tell myself not to
but
buy
on,
a PS5 Pro because that's £700.
On your film suggestion, have you seen Mouse Hunt?
Maybe I don't know it well
Mouse
though.
Hunt is a great show. Adam, thank you for suggesting it. Like
great, Nathan Lane, Lee Evans, what a cast!
Exactly, two great actors, great comedic actors, and the way it's really clever how they have a real mouse. It's not a CGI mouse or anything, but like. I don't know how they were able to film with this. I think it's a real mouse. The film, it's really fun. It's got a Christopher Walken cameo in it that's great. And it's, you know what? I think that's going to be added to the Christmas festival list.
You know what film's mousy that I love that's not mousy is The Borrowers. I remember loving that film with
Jim Broadbent.
Jim Broadbent.
Jim Broadbent,
yeah. John Goodman's evil, he's a big, and Jim Broadbent's small. Yeah.
Good stuff.
I remember really enjoying that, but I've not seen it for ages.
To answer your question, Adam, about whether like a real life experience triggers a reason, need to. Often, sometimes when it's like seasons, you'll think, it's like autumn. I want to watch When Harry Met Sally or
events. Sometimes I'll get in the mood for a war film, but I'm obviously not encountering.
Yeah,
it's because I
crave a bit of war.
You just crave a bit of war, or like I'll see something that triggers like, oh yes, I would like to see some of the great war films, but I can't think off the top of my head.
I think when I was doing my GCSEs, I was like, right, I've got to watch all the high school films there have ever been. So I watched like all the American Pies and Dead Poets Society. That's a contrast, if there ever was one.
The fact that they're in the same category.
Oh, Captain, my Captain! Rogue. But no, I remember doing that.
Yeah.
Adam, thank you very much for that. Pleasure to hear from you.
We still have plenty of emails to read through, but as always, if you wanted to send in your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, your reviews, you can do by emailing them in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com, or if you support us at the VIP tier on Patreon, you can have priority access to have your email read out on the show.
And if you did go to school with either James or Ryan, you haven't, speak up,
make
yourself known.
What films did we watch together? What time did the teacher wheel in the TV? It's all smart boards now. You used to have to wheel in the TV.
And the overhead projector. Do you remember that? With the glass box?
And you
with the see-through, the laminate.
Yes. Oh my God. What a cumbersome machine just to display
information. Yeah.
And you couldn't use paper. It had to be a sort of...
laminated sort of see-through.
Plastic inked page. I've no word for... I don't know what the
vocabulary... Exactly. We don't know what... It was one of those things where the tech is so... advanced, but in an anachronistic way. I have no way of describing what it is.
You know what I'm quite embarrassed to say? Well, maybe not. I'm 30, but I really don't know how a pager works.
No, I don't know. No, that's fine.
I really don't know.
No, I don't.
And I don't know. I've obviously seen all the films where they're there, and like in early Friends.
Is it because of WOLFS?
Yes, it was because of Wolves. I think that's what made me
Wolves
think
is
about
pager,
it.
yeah.
And I'm just like, I actually don't really know how this would work. Like, what's it there for?
So I
What do you
believe-
see? Is it a call that you make that sends?
No, it's like, yeah. So let's say I needed to get into
I know
contact
people
with
who
you.
are 10 years older than us are screaming, probably.
Yeah. So we're
Sorry.
We're the post-page generation. Okay,
Yeah.
we don't know this. I believe the way they worked, which is that like if I wanted to get in contact with you,
Yeah.
I would
Call my pager.
Let's say I was your office.
Yeah.
I would page you, and it would come up with like 451 office, and you're like, oh, work is paging me, and then you'd call. Like I thought the numbers were like a suffix to the numbers that you were already in the work, or you'd call a certain number and it would then direct,
So it's like it's just pre-cell phone,
yeah,
and so it's like we need
bleepers as they call them in.
It was a cheaper way to
US
just.
as well.
I reckon so they would call your pager,
Yes,
and then you would then call the office.
Yes.
And they would go, George, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
You've got to come in.
exactly. So
And
you'd be
you'd
like,
say,
oh,
sorry, kid, I can't come to your baseball game.
yeah.
I've got to go to
I'm
work.
being paged. You then call the person that's paged you. What's the issue?
And for a doctor, it's like you just got to come back because it's always doctors had pagers.
Yeah, it's a
In
pager
films.
is the equivalent of someone saying you've got a phone call.
Yeah.
You need to could you pick up the phone, please?
Someone's paging me.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you can't go to baseball
So
game.
yeah, so were you like paying for your pager fee?
James, that's
That's
where
where,
that's where
like,
I leave you.
Did you have to call up Vodafone of the day?
It's one of those things where like it does seem kind of more simplistic.
The whole
It-
device clipped to your
something-
belt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is there any difference to walking around with a thing in our pocket all the time?
Yeah,
now?
but a clip is like, I guess it's more.
I
for a pager.
I'm kind of nostalgic. I don't really remember it, but actually, like living, if I was to have lived properly in like the 80s and 90s, to have had the pocket space to not had a phone in there.
Yeah.
Because we automatically assume,
Yeah.
especially if you're a guy, you
phone.
just have a phone in your pocket. Like you imagine now having two pockets free.
Yeah. I think the smartphone, the iPhone, the whatever phone, it's killing a lot of plot stuff for contemporary films.
Yes.
There are so many solutions to problems that are solved by an iPhone and internet.
Being paged, Jed. What the love the simplicity of that. I've never sent a fax.
My dad used to send faxes on holiday.
I think we've talked about this before. Is I don't quite understand how that works.
So
it was connected to the internet.
I think that I could imagine the fax coming out and seeing a message print wirelessly through the printer. I'd have gone, that is amazing.
Yeah. What will they do next?
Amazing. What will they do next? My dad, I always have memories. My dad would be in hotels on holiday and he would always go to the business center of the hotel, which was always like a small little kiosk off to the side of the reception with computers with like, I assume, very slow internet and a phone. And he would often need to use the business center. And I think I remember him saying like they used to charge extortion amounts of money to send a fax.
Wow.
But I still think that's kind of cool. Like, I could print you an email in Hong Kong and you would get that. I still think that's kind of cool.
I'm in Hong Kong in this scenario.
Yes.
I'm in Hong Kong. And
Yeah.
you,
Other side
otherwise,
of
it's
the
no
world.
use to me. I'm just going to say
Well,
right now.
go get it.
Thanks.
No, it's like you're on the other side of the world. Bear in mind, this is the 90s or the
Yeah.
80s. And I just go,
Whoa, I just got a
you're
fax.
my thing. Yeah.
But also, I remember when I was a kid trying to call a friend of mine, and I called his fax machine. He'd give me his fax machine number.
Yeah.
And someone eventually was like, "You've been calling my fax machine." I'm like, "I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
How can I?" It's like saying, "You've called my printer. You've called my DVD player." I don't understand.
Anyway,
Tangent.
tech.
There we go.
Moving on to the game. George, as always, Pulp Kitchen ends
With a game.
a fan favorite. This is Guess the Film from its opposite film title.
Yeah.
I have chosen many films' titles and I have replaced the words of the films with their antonyms.
Have we had any of these before?
I think there's some variations of some of these we've had before, but you know, we have an infinite number of
No.
episodes. So,
go.
for example, if I was to say down, the film would be
Up.
There you go, and that's basically the premise. And it's sort of a quick fire. George has to guess the film from its opposite film title. George, are you ready?
Yes.
Please play along at home. You have to guess the film from its opposite film title. Of Rats and Women,
Of Mice and Men.
The Devil Mother,
The Godfather.
yes, 12 Calm Women,
12 Angry Men.
The Lady of the Bracelets, The Departure of the Queen,
The Lady of the Bracelets. The Lord of the Rings. The Return of the King.
yes, The Bad, the Good, and the Beautiful,
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Relaxed Cow,
Relaxed Cow. Angry Pig. Angry Horse. War Horse. Angry Cow. Relaxed Cow. Angry. Tense. Wound up. Cow.
You're so close.
Cow. Goat.
Raging Bull,
Ah!
Bad Lasses,
Good. lads. Good lads. Lads. Lad. Is lad in the title? No. Good boys. Good men. A few good men.
You're so close.
Bad lasses. Good. I think it was good lads.
Good fellas.
Ah.
Speaking in the sun.
Walking in the... Speaking. Listening. Seeing. Singing in the rain.
Yes. Desert cats.
Tundra. Desert cats. Dogs. Straw dogs. Reservoir dogs.
Yes.
Is reservoir...
Okay. It's a body of water. Yeah, artificial thing. South by Southeast.
North by Northwest.
The Giraffe Woman.
The Elephant Man.
Yes. Empty wooden trousers.
Full Metal Jacket.
Yes. Many dislike it cold.
Some like it hot.
Opener. Continent.
Close encounters. No. Close.
Opener. Continent.
Opener. Closer.
Openan.
Opener. You said.
Opener. Continent.
Opener. Closer. Ending.
Oh, you're so close.
Ending. Close. Continent.
Opposite of continent would be?
Country.
No, smaller.
Island.
Yeah. Openan.
Island. Open island.
Opener. Shutter Island. Bottom knife conventional.
Bottom knife conventional. Top Gun Maverick.
Yes. Guards.
Prisoners.
Yes. Volkswagen versus Lamborghini.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Hot foot layer.
Hot foot layer. Cold. Hot foot. Cold hand. Cool hand Luke.
Yes, that's it. You're done.
I see Luke and Leia. Yes. Very good there. The
Here we go.
No.
Go on.
It was what I liked is when you said desert and it was opposite of reservoir, and I queried it, and you were like, "No, reservoir is an artificial body of water." I'm like, I know what a reservoir is. I don't understand how it's the opposite of a desert, but it's absolutely fine.
Well, I
fun.
googled the definition of reservoir, and it's either a natural or artificial body of water.
Oh,
and
can have natural reservoirs.
You can have natural reservoirs, actually.
Fair enough.
I've learned that today, and I just thought the opposite of the presence of water is a
the
desert.
absence of water.
So yeah,
those are good fun. I like that.
Yeah.
There may have been some old ones there, but they always still get
opener
you.
continent's hard because it's shutter, so therefore opener.
It was. I noticed in my brain process that it was easier when I was responding to them automatically. So when you could hear the rhythm with the rhythm. So when it was like a few like it cold or whatever, I knew that it was like some like it hot.
Yes.
But when it had to go upstairs to the brain department,
you've got too much data to try and sort through.
Well, what's this? A tundra? A reservoir?
What?
A good old favourite there. We do like that.
Relaxed cow. I like.
Yes, of course. Because
bull.
cow female and bull male.
There you
of course.
go. Yeah. Good fun as always. But
Great
guys,
stuff.
there you go. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Pulp Kitchen. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. Don't forget we post new episodes of this show every single Wednesday, apart from last week. It was a little bit late. I'm sorry.
It happens.
It's because of the joke. It's because of the joke.
Because of the joke premiere.
Literally, we recorded that day, and it was the Wednesday, and we just.
Yep. Stay tuned. We've got some really exciting weeks coming ahead with the London Film Festival. We're going to be seeing a lot of films that haven't even been released yet. They're going to be like the hot new films for the next 6 months to a year.
Hopefully, assuming nothing goes wrong, and we can actually catch these films, tickets sort of pending. We should hopefully have fuckload of films coming out in the next few weeks. Like, it's going to be really, really cool.
We've never actually been in this situation before, but there is legitimately 1 week where we might be seeing 10 films in 5 days.
Yeah, and we should say...
And I don't know how my brain's going to... where the space where it's going to go for that stuff.
And I think we should say, so usually you'll notice, listeners of the show, we title the podcast almost always with the main films that are covered. That is usually 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 1 films. With this, we know it's not practical to call this film Title 1, Title 2, Title 3, Title 4. So we're probably just going to name it LFF Part 1, LFF Part 2, and within that you'll have loads of really cool films. So please don't see LFF and be like, what even is an LFF? Why should I watch
London Film Festival.
A London Film Festival, yeah. But within that are going to be loads of really great films. We'll put that in the description, so please stick around for it. It's going to be really good. We don't know how big these films are yet, but we're going to see them, and they are probably
some good ones.
Within that bunch are going to be some really big films for the next coming months. So very, very cool.
Stay tuned.
If you want to hear first from the critics, like whether or not these films are going to be good. Stay tuned.
Because when you're going to sound so cool when you're at a party and someone goes,
I heard about that.
Oh, that Daniel Craig new film with Luca Guadagnino's coming out. Oh yeah, I listened to that on Pulp Kitchen. They reviewed it 3 months ago.
Jesse Eisenberg and what's her face?
Kieran Culkin.
Yeah, I know. I heard about that.
Yeah. Pulp Kitchen already listened to it.
Yeah.
Done it. Thank you so much for joining us this week on Pulp Kitchen. We really appreciate it, as ever. We really do. We love doing this. We love speaking to you guys. Thank you so much. And as we always say, if you'd like to support us, you can support us by doing so on the Patreon. You can get access to exclusive content we make just for our subscribers, including our exclusive Double Take show.
It's a whole new show. It's a whole new show that we do with just us. If you love what we do and you want to see a little bit more, and it's different, and it's news, and it's trailers, it's me and George reacting to stuff. It's different. Please go and check it out. We're not even sat here. We're sat somewhere else. It looks different.
We do deep dives as well. We do rewatches. We do watches of old films, old classics. It's really great fun over there. So thank you for that. And of course, thank you for always and continuing to support us on social media. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok where we're posting great film bites. We posted some with Radio 1's film critic Ali Plum.
Wasn't he great?
What a
He
charming
so
man
good.
he
We've got
was.
loads of stuff to come out with him. He was an absolute pro.
We've been filming
a real
some great stuff
broadcaster.
with great people recently. So do follow us and share and like and engage. We really, really appreciate it. James, anything to add?
See you next week.
I think I spoke for all your bits there. I'm so sorry. Did we say
I
else?
did plenty.
And big thank you, as ever, to our producers, Aidan and Finn. Couldn't do it without you.
Bye, guys.
Cheers, guys. Bye.